All right, October 23rd, chest day, 9th week of the cycle. I do want to go over this workout for both the cyclers and non-cyclers. If you're cycling, couple of little things here. So week 8 was, of course, GVT. So a drop back week, opportunity to work a little bit more on volume, kind of reset yourself from these really heavy weights. But weeks 9, 10, and 11 are the peak weeks for a reason. This is where we really ramp up, load up. And we're working on a much lower rep count, and every rep essentially starts to get pretty challenging here. So again, knowing that going in is usually pretty helpful mentally. And again, I want you guys to be excited. Like if you've gotten to week 9 and you're at 80-85%, like you're moving a lot of weight. Like you should be excited about that. It's all about form at this point, the ability to control your trunk, make sure you're driving through your feet, make sure you're following your line of motion. Any misstep here on your line of motion tends to not be great. A lot of times it can derail your entire set. If that happens to you, don't be defeated. It's okay to just drop out and just reset yourself after a couple of minutes. But you're talking 4 or 5 reps. Like that's it. You'll notice it's also 3+ minutes of recovery here. If you need to take a little bit more, work your way maybe up to 3.5, 4 minutes time recovery. That's also completely fine. It's not the end of the world. Again, we'd much rather have successful reps with a little bit more time recovery under these circumstances than, taking too short of recovery and failing because of it. All right. So 80-85% should put you guys right 1.5, some depending on who you are, how heavy you're moving, how strong you are, 2 weight classes above where you were on week 7. All right, so again, it's a lot. It's only going to continue to increase here. The rep counts will continue to come down over these peak weeks, these 3 weeks of peak weeks, leading into week number 12. But again, incredibly valuable. Again, we want to get as many of these reps as we can. There's 25 total reps to be had here. Let's try to get ourselves to 18, 20, 22, 23. More the merrier, of course. And again, don't be afraid to ask for a spot. And, there's only one trainer in there spotting. Like, just be patient. If you're somebody that's helping somebody spot, or you have another member helping you spot, which I don't love, but it's not the end of the world. Again, they're grabbing your wrists, guys. Like, nobody's doing this elbow stuff. Anybody pushes on your elbow the wrong way, you lose your line of motion forward or back with this type of weight in your hand. And like I said, it's just not going to go well. Following that, the supplemental stuff. So I wanted to touch on this as well. Flat bench with a pause. So you're going to do flat bench up top, obviously, and then your flat bench with a pause. So I think this is a nice little place to finally put this in. So we're going to go flat bench to flat bench, which, again, not used to doing. But the second time around, it does say max. Like, I want you to move as much weight as you can, but I want you to err on the side of lighter and make sure that your form is absolutely flawless. So a good opportunity to work on technique because there's not a ton of volume up top. I think it's a good time to kind of slip this in. So as much as I'd like you to move as much weight as possible, like we always say on cycle day, err on the side of make sure you're picking a weight that you can fully control. Your shoulder girdle stays intact. You make sure your chest is actually firing here, following this, all this load up top, and you're not grabbing too much weight, and your form just kind of crumbles underneath you. So again, work on prioritize the technicalities of the lift over the mass amount of weight of the lift that we're typically used to doing. So same concept with the incline press with the pausing. Again, reset the bottom, focus on firing the appropriate muscles. Again, pausing isn't technically like X amount of time. You'll hear us always say a 2 count. The more proficient you are, the better control of your body that you have, the shorter that pause can get. The pause is there to ultimately eliminate all momentum. So starting from 0, if I'm lifting next to somebody who's fairly new, my ability to get down there and turn around in a quarter of a second or half a second, it may take them 1 or 2 full seconds or counts to fully reset and get ready to go back up just because they're not as proficient. They haven't done it as many times as I have. So it's not apples to apples for everybody. Some people might sit down there for a 2-3 count. Some people might be able to reset fully with all momentum eliminated, in a 1 count and get back up. So just keep that in mind. Fly presses on flat bench. Again, make sure your form, this is kind of similar to number 1 here, the flat bench with the pause. Like, anytime you do a fly press or anything away from your body where your levers are super big and lengthened, where the weight, again, is traveling from your body or abducting from, the midpoint of your body, always err on the side of technicalities. Like, make sure the right muscles are firing, the line of motion is perfect before you prioritize moving a ton of weight. If you're comfortable, then you can start taking kind of, mental notes as to what weight classes allow you to, checkbox the technicalities, and then eventually you'll hit a weight class where like, ooh, I don't think the line of motion works well. My body doesn't understand the line of motion with this type of load. So just keep that in mind for number 1 and number 3. And then the regular class, for those of you not cycling, similar concept. We got flat bench, which again, track this please, and then incline press with a pause. So again, go as heavy as you can. I put it all the way down to 30% here, plus sign right there. But again, prioritize the technicalities of it. Shoulder girdles engaged. You're not dropping your shoulders into a deficit, but dropping your elbows too much. You want to keep your shoulders on the bench, obviously. But again, prioritize technicalities over load. And then I don't love putting, full transparency here. You try to tell you guys as much of my thought process as possible. Don't love putting a push-ups at the bottom of this block. Don't really have a choice. You can make it something else. I still think it's effective enough to put it in here. So again, full clarity, like in group setting, these first 2 lifts are going to take people anywhere from like 15 to 18, 19, 20 minutes, depending on how heavy you're going and how long that warm-up is. So it's a 22-minute block. Some people are going to finish in 15 minutes. You have 7 minutes to go. I do think these push-ups, again, where they're positioned aren't great if there's future lifts, which there are. But I think a lot of people aren't going to get to the push-ups as well. So I had to put something in there as a buffer. I do love this combination of the run into the 20-second AMRAP push-up. But when you get to the next block, you still have pullovers and a tricep press. That being said, pullovers aren't exactly dominated by your chest, so not a huge concern. But that tricep press, supplementary lift, if it was really just like tricep press by itself, and I wanted you guys to move as much weight as you can and track it, then I definitely wouldn't put those push-ups ahead of it. But in this given setting, it's already a Metcon. The extra fatigue of the push-ups, is it going to change a lot? Probably not. So you have 5-round cap, you'll have 20 minutes to do so, kind of work your way through this. And again, the monthly emphasis being transitional work. This whole Metcon is just one big piece of transition from weights to no weights to step overs to a core movement. I love the running into the biking, and so on and so forth. So anyways, that covers both of them. Again, if you are cycling, I did want to say this lands on Thursday before the Urban Legend. So, if you are taking the Urban Legend, like seriously, like you're trying to get on the wall, you have a coach, a trainer, then I wouldn't be doing this on Thursday.